My name is Sean Jordan. I am a comedian, podcaster, and here to talk about Tyler the Creator's Goblin. So the first time I came across Goblin or heard Goblin, I think like a lot of people, was Yonkers. So I remember my buddy, it was right when I had moved to Portland, and my buddy had come from Sioux Falls, which is where I'm from, and he had his hard drive or whatever with all this new music on it, and it was right when all of the Odd Future, like all the kids were starting to pop in skating. So he's like, you got to hear this. This is what skaters are listening to right now. We didn't have the internet at our house yet. It was still fairly new. We'd only lived there like a month. So we had to go to a corner of our kitchen to poach our neighbor's internet. And so we did that, and then we saw the video because we had heard about it, just how he's eating a cockroach, or how he ends up eating a cockroach. And yeah, it was fantastic. And he talks about skating a bunch, like references different things, like talks about the barracks a little bit. They talk about Supreme through the whole record. So yeah, I mean, we listened to it, not just that, but the whole camp, I don't know, for months probably. I mean, that was all I was doing, because I was like, this is like the new, I don't know, skate music, it felt like. Skating and music go together for so many reasons. I mean, music will get you going, and then when you see something that's smooth, music just immediately is going to go with it. You would put in a VHS, it was in your VCR, there was no internet, so you would watch Misled Youth until the tape wore out, and these songs would just be pounded into your brain. When I started, it was 96-ish, and it was like all the backpack rap. Every video had like a Tribe song. Every video had a Hieroglyphics song. So I feel like those were the huge ones. There was, before that, with like Bad Religion and Pennywise and like all the punk rock that made its way into skate culture. That was I feel like the first public image of skateboarders, was that Vans, Tony Hawk, the flop haircut, that when they'd be listening to like Bad Religion, just cruising down the street with looking upset, chain wallets and stuff. Tyler the Creator and like all the Odd Future, just the whole thing, they were like the first to kind of start with the bright colors, and it's going out a little bit now. Now like kids are into crazy baggy stuff again, which is blowing my mind. When I'm out skating, I just see kids wearing giant pants. But I think Tyler the Creator and all them, they started like the really colorful, like ice cream shoes sort of movement, where it's like you want like a purple hoodie instead of like a black hoodie. In the early 2000s, I'm having trouble, and I'm a pretty big skate nerd, I'm having trouble pegging it down, because that's kind of right when everything got really popular. So it kind of wasn't like a subculture anymore. There was the X Games and everything that blew it up into, so everybody was skating and listened, so there wasn't really anything to like nail it down into, which is another reason I think an album like this is so important, and just important in that time period, is because it did bring it back to be like, oh, here's something that they can't play on MTV, because I forgot how much stuff he says on this album. It's racy, as it were, but it's not going to get radio play. Most people aren't going to hear about it. So this album kind of brought it back in, where you felt like this was a skateboard thing and not an everybody thing. Going back and listening to it, I drove around my old neighborhood a little bit, where my buddy came and, first like introduced me to it. And I was just driving around, and I was like, oh man, it did bring back memories. We used to have to walk to the library and use the internet, and I would go just put it on YouTube and listen to it while I was at the library checking my email. Yeah, it was really fun, very nostalgic. That's the best thing with, music and skating. Another really good thing about music and skating is the combined nostalgia. The song takes you back to your skating, and that, it's like a 1-2 punch, where you're like, oh man, I feel like energized and young. So yeah, it was awesome listening to it again, and just hearing like the beginning of Yonkers and a few of the other songs on the album that got the more heavy plays, where it's just like, oh yeah, and then you're almost transported back to this, well, you are placed in your mind, and it just felt cool, and it was fun to be right in the neighborhood that I was, like literally in the neighborhood where I first heard it.